and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Flux Motorsport TV. You join myself, the console, for round one of the GT3 season, and boy, have we got a grid and a season lined up for you. So, we kick off the season out in Dubai GP Autodrome for the first time this season. We are going to come back here twice later on. So good, we fancied it twice later. Joining us out on the grid this season, we've got three from returning last season. We have got Blank File, opting for a different car from the little Z4 he had last season. This season, opting for the Bentley. He took the top spot in his rookie season. An absolute great show and a good way to kick off his make a stamp in the Flux Motorsport community. In second, there was Bruce Law, who again has also opted for a different car. He's opting for the little Janetta, which we don't see many people pick. Often rated as a little underpowered, but as we've seen with Bruce time and time again, always capable of making those sort of odd underdog cars work. So we would definitely want to keep an eye on for him. And in third place from last season, also opting for a different car, we've got Dr. Potford, Mr. Consistent. Managed to get himself onto the third place podium spot by pure consistency last season. Absolute great drives, week in, week out, and he has opted for the NSX. Again, another car choice that we don't see many people go for. Normally super stable throughout the corners, but can sometimes lack a little bit at the top end. We're not keep an eye on him, how that's going to fit through this track. Obviously there is the long straight, that's sort of the back straight of Dubai, and you've got the start finish straight as well into turn one. So plenty of fresh faces to mix up this grid this season as well. A lot of people we haven't seen go around yet who are going to be looking to make their stamp. Potentially another Blank File season in store for one of them. In practice though, it was service as normal. Dr. Potford was sitting on top of a 1 minute 57 with Bruce and Blank File in second and third. So the reigning three looking to kick off as they finished last time round. So we're on board with Tibby at the minute. He has been a driver with us for a little while. Everyone knows Tibby. I believe he's racing in the touring cars, the GT1s at the minute. He's opted for the Audi R8. Good choice of car, especially around here. Nicely balanced between power and stability. And we always look to see good things from him. He really shows good pace throughout the whole race. So maybe this year you can just tell it to a few more results. In the pit, still sitting behind him, or just coming out now, we've got Mays. Mays has jumped up from the reserve lift, but moments ago, and opted for the bright orange Mercedes AMG. Anyone who's driven the GT3 cars will be aware that the AMG is the most powerful, normally the most dominant. Not entirely sure where he's off to at the minute, but I'm sure we'll see that car going a little quicker shortly. In third, we've got Josh, or as he's soon to become known as Wadge, picking the M6. And as we saw from Mia last season, the M6, another sort of car, unsung hero car, really. Looks a bit like a boat, but does go a bit like a rocket ship when you hook it up. I've not personally seen Wadge go around just yet. We raced with him in the touring cars, so still hard to make a judgment call yet on how he's going to do, but I'm expecting good things as per normal, hoping to mix this grid up. Underneath him, we've got Survivor. Survivor's made a last-minute car change. He's opted for the chrome-looking Z4. We've had quite a few people jump into the Z4 after Blank File season last time round, so you have to keep a watch on him, see if he can get any of the same sort of success from it at the minute. Set the pace to 2 minutes a lap at the minute, so he's going to have to find a little bit more to get onto those top spots. Followed by him is his teammate Green Gaming, also opting for a chrome-coloured Z4. Yeah, I think he's trying to get on the back of the success that you saw had it last season. Mixed results from Green Gaming in various races. Last night in IndyCars, I believe he ended up getting himself a podium, which I think was his first with us at Flux. So maybe trying to keep the good luck rolling into Sunday. underneath him we have TGS, also opting for an M6. TGS, one of their recent staff members, one of the marshals for Flux Motorsport, does a great job helping drivers in and around Discord. Driving wise, we have seen great pace from him in various lobbies that I've been in. I don't think I've seen him racing a GT3 yet, so he's still got a little bit to show yet and see how he ends up. Blank File, obviously we've already introduced him. No introduction needed other than that big yellow Bentley. I think we are going to see that big yellow Bentley absolutely flying very shortly. In here we've got Chris. Chris just jumping in the first Lamborghini we've seen, I think, in 3 seasons. So this season 1 and 2 was Lambo-less, and now we've got a personal favourite because obviously he's got the pink on the front, so that car will be going faster than all the others, as we know. Flush is another new face to the grid, recently joined with us. He's also in a Audi R8. He's actually currently promoting his own channel at the minute, so if you do see him popping up, go give his stuff a like and a little subscribe. Not seen much race from him personally, so again I'll be working out how he's going to end up in the GT3s. I believe he is racing in... No, it is only the GT3s. Let's pull up his little stats here. So this is going to be his first outing with the Flux team. Snarling Bongo. We saw him race last season. Usually excellent pace. Definitely going to be seeing him towards the sharp end of the grid. Last season was running in the Mercedes, and this year opted for the McLaren. And I do believe I caught him in a practice lobby earlier in the week saying that the McLaren has been the best feeling car he's driven in the GT3 class. So hopefully that confidence transpires into some good results for him. Last season finishing 5th, so just outside of those little podium spots. We'll be trying to amend that this time round. And we've got Linga Bazinga. I believe the two are still flatmates unless they've had a falling out. Also opting for McLaren, the red 99 there. Again, Linga Bazinga, I believe last season was excellent pace in qualifying and in the race. Just sort of got caught up in some incidents. Bit of luck never really going his way. So not one to write out. Definitely one to keep an eye on. So, going back to the times, we're 10 minutes into this 20-minute qualifying session now. Immortalis sitting up on top. Another face actually from last season. We saw him do well, finishing 6th, just behind Snarling Bongo. Only 1 point separated the two. He's kept for the same Ferrari that he's had for the last 2 seasons, so obviously that chair is nice and moulded to him. He's not wanting to get out of it or change, and has always been able to do really well in qualifying actually, and pull out a great pace. And if he can get off the line and get the car moving, as you saw in the LMP2s yesterday, unfortunately it wasn't broadcast due to some technical difficulties, but he was able to get off the line and just fend Bruce off for the whole race. So it seems if he can get it done early on, he's definitely in for a chance for a win. Waj is sitting practically the same time, 1/1000th of a second behind Immortalis. That's basically the same lap as far as I am concerned. He's going to need to scrub just a little bit off that M6 just to get it there. Maybe, take a little bit of paint off, a little bit of weight reduction maybe needed just to get him across the line first. Blankfall sitting 4/10 off, and he is falling backwards, sitting in the pits with not too long left to go, so he's going to want to get whatever changes he's making short. As we see Waj, an absolute blistering lap, 2/10 quicker than Immortalis, and straight back to the pits. So obviously that was a low fuel run. Linga Bazinga slipping in there now with the McLaren, getting that up into the 3rd spot temporarily. Still 10 minutes left to go in this session. Bruce Law, I reckon, still got a little bit more pace in that Janetta. We've seen him get down into the 57s in practice. As well as Jack de Mendes. We missed him out on our little rundown as the names are jumping around as people putting time in. Very inconsiderate of them all. New to the GT3 grid, also opting for the Ferrari. It is in the wrong colour, ladies and gentlemen. It should be red, but he's picked the blue one, and we won't say anything else about it. Currently sitting with 158.2, about 9/10 off of Waj's pace, but it looks like Jack isn't really pushing at the minute, so maybe just a bit of an outlap for him, still trying to get the tyres up to temperature. So, everyone in the comments who's joining and watching at the minute, let me know your race predictions. Otherwise, you're just going to hear me talking and rambling and ruining the noises of all these lovely cars as they go around the track. Whilst I have a couple of mild break in the pauses, wait for Jack to get up to speed, let me tell you about the upcoming events we've got at Flux. So this season we are bringing 3 new championships, taking 7 championships running a week. On Tuesday we have touring cars, personal favourite of mine, hosted by Murphy, and that will be broadcast and commentated by him as well. That goes out 8 o'clock UK time and 3 o'clock Eastern, I believe. So they're normally a great race to watch. Super close action, really, really close grid this season. Always fun to watch. And on the Thursdays we have GT1s hosted by Lecky and commentated by Lecky as well. Another bit of an unsung hero, really. Good racing at the GT1s. Them cars super tricky, trying to get around the rain in Algarve in round 1. Linger taking the win in that one. On the Friday we have the first of the Eastern Time Zone Championships. We have GTEs hosted by Carlin Hicks and commentated and streamed as well by him. Another great series, very similar to the GT3s. Obviously the GT cars giving a little bit more grip and a little bit more power, so give normally some more high octane action. On Saturdays we have the LMP2s at 8 o'clock UK time, hosted by Giacomo, commented and broadcasted by him too. We didn't get the broadcast last night because of technical difficulties, but Immortalis took the win in that race with Bruce in second, so that started to heat up nicely as well already after one round, so be sure to check that out. And on Saturday, even later, at 8 o'clock Eastern time, we have the IndyCar series, and from what I hear, that has been an absolute thriller of a race. Winners changing on the last lap, so be sure to go into the Flux Motorsport TV archives and find that one and feast on that motorsport delight around Long Beach. Sunday you have got lovely myself, the GT3s at 8 o'clock on Sunday. You know that already, you are here. And after this at 8 o'clock Eastern time we have got the Stock Car, a new series to the championship as well. They are going to be kicking off at Daytona, and that will be commented and hosted by Muttley and One Shoe. So that is what's coming up in Flux. 6 minutes left to go in this qualification. Linga Bazinga has taken the pole from Wadge by 1,000th of a second. So super close at the top, though. McLaren absolutely flying. Immortalis sitting about 2 tenths off. Blankfile and Bruce sitting quite a way off, more than we'd expect in previous sessions. Sort of 6 tenths and 8 tenths off at the minute. I'd expect that to come down maybe in the very last final stages, making it dramatic for the viewers at home. Oh. So, top 5, top 6 separated by less than a second. Jack the Menace just outside of it at the minute. He will be looking to change that. Looks like he's going back out on a lap. Wadge into the pit, so he's maybe going to get 1, maybe 2 more goes at it if he is lucky. Tibby and Gwyn Gaming back into the pits as well, so they're maybe jumping in, making the last final adjustments to get the last little bit of time out of the car as best they can. Dr. Potford back into the pits now as well. So these guys are either going back into the pits and filling up, or they're going in the pit. As we see, Bruce has jumped to the top of the table with a 156.8, an absolute storming lap from the Ginetta, absolutely flying. 3 tenths quicker than Wadge, 4 tenths quicker than Linger. Monstrous. I would not expect that from the Ginetta around here. Obviously making use of the tight, twisty sections of Dubai and letting the car cool down on those long straights. as I said earlier, Bruce known for making these the unsuspecting car deadly. So the next question is Blankfile going to be able to get up there and match it in a much bigger Bentley? These Bruce and Blankfile have had a friendly rivalry. They drive their friends over at Curb Clippers. Bruce was so close to getting the win in Season 1, just being pipped by Sabath. And then in Season 2, Blankfile has tipped up and taken it off of him again, leaving him with second. And now this season, Bruce is, I'm sure, is determined to make it his win, although Blankfile will definitely have something to say about it, as will the other 15 drivers on track. So, Survivor, Flush and Green Gaming are into the pits. Unless they get out soon, it is unlikely that they are going to get another go at it. So, potentially making their setups for the race now, filling the car back up with fuel, making the last changes to the tyres, maybe do a couple of laps to get used to the feel of the race trim, as it were. 3 minutes left to go as it boils down to the final stages. Not much movement happening in the back stages of the grid here, looking down to sort of between 10th and 13th. TGS sitting a little further back than I'd expect him to. He's normally sort of much higher up towards the sort of top of the middle pack runners in these, so maybe having a few setup issues with him as we've seen him dive back into the pits. He's probably again not going to get another go at it. Blankfile about to cross the line now. Hasn't got his lights on, so I'm not sure if this is a fast lap, and it looks like it wasn't, so he still stays put in 6th. Let's see if we can just pick anyone up here towards the top. Snarling looking like he's on a lap and just coming towards the final sector of Dubai. This long straight comes down into a real awkward right-hander. It's sort of a bit of an unseen apex. You can see he brakes super late and turns almost the car right back round on itself. There's the apex there, nicely done. Trying to get the best run out of here and not almost ready for another tricky final corner. You don't want to scrub too much speed off to the main straight, but at the same time it just bends slightly more than you want it to, and that curve can pull you outside and off for a time penalty by the race director. Looks like he doesn't improve on his time, so he stays put and not able to best the 157 flat, we'll call it. Waj again coming into that same sector in the BMW. We've seen the BMWs do well before in previous seasons, and Waj obviously upholding that status here, sitting in third. 4 attempts to make up. Maybe just a little bit, just an ab second off Snarling. Snarling's gone into the pit, so he's definitely not going to get another go now. So that's him done, settling for second, thinking he has got all he can get. Waj is sitting behind Bruce at the minute, so maybe a little bit of a toe, and he doesn't go any faster. Bruce into the pits as well, so he's happy that he has done enough. Waj opting for one more stab at it. We'll catch up with him in a little bit. Linga Bazinga about to cross the line in his McLaren. Can he do any better? He does. Second place, well, an absolute flying lap, also breaking into the 156, 1/10 behind Bruce. So Bruce, little sigh of relief from him there, still with Waj out on track, and Blankfile and Dr. Potford, who are all capable of taking that top spot, so not out of the woods just yet. As we jump back with Waj, is he any closer? A little bit of way to go for him just yet. Blankfile is in the first section, so he's got a little way to go yet. Let's double check on Dr. Potford where he is in the NSX. He is coming into the final sector now, so we'll just stick with him for a little bit, see if he can pull anything out the bag. And we can see there a great shot of the NSX with Linga and Blankfile in hot pursuit behind you. I think they're not quite close enough to benefit of the tow just yet, as the session is done. So this final lap is going to be the lap to get it done. They're going to be leaving it all out there. Linger, Immortalis, I believe, isn't going to be on a lap. He looked like he was in the pits for a little bit too long. So Blank, Linger, Dr. Potford are going to be our best bets at knocking Bruce off of that top spot. Dr. Potford coming into the final complex now. Again, this tricky left-hander, really late apex. Try not to scrub any speed off for this penultimate corner and the final corner. And get the red of the car as best as you can after your tyres have been cooked for a whole lap in this Dubai heat. Very neat and tidy. You can hear he's a little bit sensitive on the throttle there, but seems to get a really decent run. Does he do any better than 8th? He doesn't. He stays put. Linger also back to the pit, so that leaves us with Blank about to cross the line. Can he bet a 6th? No, he can't, so he stays put as well. We will double check on Immortalis. Don't think he's on a lap, but he'll probably prove me wrong because I've said it. He's now coming up to the final complex 2, that Ferrari full tilt as it always is with Immortalis. Maximum attack all the time. Hold on tight if you're ever a passenger in his car. Everyone else looks like they're abandoning laps. Only Immortalis and Chris Motorsport out on track at the minute. Immortalis coming into the final corner. Can he improve on 5th? 7 attempts to make up. And it looks like he can't. Maybe a slowdown there coming in at the end. And we missed it. But it looked like Chris jumped up a few places there in that Lamborghini. So this is the grid for our race. All to play for into turn 1, I expect. So Bruce Law takes the top spot in the Ginetta. Linger Bazinga in second in that red McLaren. Great pace from him. Snarling Bongo takes third. Both McLarens that high up, which is good to see. Good friends as well. There'll be no love lost between them two. Wadge just missing out on that third spot in the BMW in 4th. Immortalis sitting just behind him. Blank file in that yellow Bentley. I don't think I've seen him sit that far back in qualifying in a long while, so a little bit of work to make up in that Bentley just yet. Jack de Mendes takes 7th place in the Ferrari. Dr. Potford back in 8th in the NSX, but we've seen great consistent drives from him during the race, so expect that to change up as the race progresses. Chris getting that Lamborghini up into the top 10 in 9th, and Tibby rounding out the top 10 in that R8. CDN in the other Lamborghini, he holds out 11th place, joined by Mays in that orange AMG, TGS in 13th in the M6, and Survivor and Flush and Green Gaming at the back of the pack there, both the 2 Chrome Z4s and another R8. So, 2 minutes of tinker time. People to adjust their seats. Get them seatbelts comfortable as we buckle in for 45 minutes of action. Race predictions, I expect the 2 McLarens are going to swallow that Bruce's Ginetta up into turn 1. But I have been wrong before. Let me know in the comments for those watching at home. Who are you rooting for? Who do you think is going to come out on those top 3 spots? Show some love to the drivers. They're going to need all the help they can get in this Dubai heat. It is going to be clear weather throughout, and Dubai is hot at the best of times. So there's going to be no let up for those tyres. They're just going to keep cooking and keep cooking. Last final adjustments being made as we go. My phone is going mental here with Discord messages flying back and forth. I think the most action is going to come from the middle of the pack in this race. Just looking at who's actually back there. So we look from 6 down, Blank File, Jack, Dr. Potford, Chris, Tibby, CDN, TGS is back there as well. Survivor, Flush and Green as well. They're going to be battling out. I think we're going to have action split up across the whole race here as the pack splits out and gets into its groove and groups. So, here we go then. The race to turn 1 begins. Lights out. Bruce getting off the line amazingly. Linga Bazinga not having a bad start either. Immortalis is flying up the middle. He's going to have to be careful not to make contact. He's got 3 wide. Wadge holding on the inside with that BMW M6. Look at Bruce running away there. Looks like the Fox and the Hounds. Wadge making a move up the inside. He holds it and takes over second. Immortalis just losing it around there. He's going to drop a lot of paces there. Damage is on. It looks like he collects a few cars for good measure as well. As we see Snarling getting off the track back there. Let's just cycle back a little bit. Jack currently holding on to where he was. Maybe made up a couple of paces. Maze is jumping up the back as well in that orange AMG. Let's try and work out who up in that incident. It looks like Immortalis, Blank, CDN and Green Gaming fall victim to the spin from Immortalis there as we jump up. So Linga not letting Wadge out of his side as they come down the back straight into this very tight hairpin. Late on the brakes, Linga pushing Wadge to the outside. You have to do very well not to make contact. Wadge running a little wide. Linga's going to get the run on the outside now. That should stick. Wadge fighting back, not letting that go as Jack is joining them for company now as the two fight. So he's looking to get his wrong-coloured Ferrari up into the podium points at the minute. Wadge, a little bit of contact there. Jack getting the elbows out as they come through. Tibby has got Snarling for company, but he'll be eyeing up this action at the front. Bruce has pulled out a 2.6 second to Linga Bazinga already. He's absolutely flying, looking to get this done as quickly as possible, as much breathing space as he can afford. More breathing space, the less flying he's doing, the more he can manage his tyres to the end. Wadge going up the inside on the final corner. That would probably give Linga the run on the straight up into turn 1, but Jack has blocked it off, so Jack is going to hold the inside onto both cars potentially on that Ferrari if he's got the legs to make it. It looks like Linga's going to get caught up behind Wadge into turn 1, so this is Jack's to make now or never move. You see Tibby starting to get on the back now. He's leaving Snarling behind. These guys not leaving each other alone. Tibby running a little wide there, collects a ball marker just for good measure. They're not as soft as you think. That will cause a little bit of damage if you're not careful. Jack Domenez looks like he's actually trying to put out a little bit of a gap at the minute, so has got through and is making headway as Linga and Wadge continue to battle it out. It seems like every corner they're changing places. I don't want to turn away from the action, but there is action all up and down the grid at the minute. Snarling starting to get back onto the rear end of Tibby, both of them chasing down Linga and Wadge, so if they're not careful that's going to turn into a four-way dogfight, releasing Jack and Bruce up the road, which is not what he want to do. So we see Immortalis, it looks like, making some moves on Dr. Potford, who he's going particularly slow, maybe a slowdown there, or maybe just the legs of the Ferrari outweighing the Acura NSX there. Immortalis looking to make up for that spin in turn 1, so he's got a lot of work to do. It looks like he's trying to get it done as quickly as possible, as we see him get on the outside of TGS. Is he going to make that stick? It looks like the Ferrari's probably got the legs with that little Chrome Z4 of Survivor just sitting up in front of him. That'll be probably already have eyes on that target. He's going to have the inside to this difficult left-hander here, very late apex. This should be enough to get that done. TGS looks like he's going super wide, trying to get the cutback. Doesn't quite have the momentum to keep it, so that's Immortalis' done. He's going to be chasing down Survivor now, and I suspect he's going to get that done in the next few corners and get after Chris. Jumping back up to the front of the grid, Wadge starting to get back onto the back rear end of Jack. So Jack not able to break the toe just yet. Linga not leaving neither of them alone, and Snarling and Tibby look like they have changed places. Tibby going really wide into turn 1 again. He's going to have to be careful of that. Race director is going to get a hold of him, and that is not what you're going to want this early on into the race. Only 5 minutes done, and we've got action up and down the grid. Wow, what a opening 3 laps that was. As we cycle back through it looks like Immortalis has dropped back down again, so maybe a little spin for him as we see Dr. Potford off into no man's land as well. So he's either having a little spin or maybe some contact. That's quite an unusual mistake for Dr. Coffin to make. Normally missed a consistent last season round. Blankfile got caught up in that turn 1 incident as well, so we can see a little bit of a wonky front end for him, but he's looking to make up places on TGS too, maybe not as quickly as he would like. TGS and Survivor in front of him need to be cleared sooner rather than later if he's going to get any sort of recovery drive done on this, unless he's really saving the tyres and looking for a push right at the end. Chris in that white and pink Lamborghini, an absolute great noise coming out of that Moret. He's looking to get it done on Maze's orange AMG, and he's looking to try and hang on to the outside of, again, this tricky late apex. Not really the overtaking move you want to be taking there. Great defending from Maze under braking. Looks like he's just giving up the inside, but closes it off just enough. Chris is a little too far back. Wanted to bide his time. Very smart driving from the pair of them, keeping it clean. Let's just jump back up and keep an eye on what's going on up here for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. These guys not leaving each other alone at all. Jack still holding on to 2nd place, Wadge sitting in 3rd, Linga Bazinga in 4th, and Snarlin just tailing off in the back in 5th. It looks like Snarlin has picked up the first time-second penalty of the race. We're not sure how big that is. We'll have to wait till the end to find out, but probably 1 or 2 seconds, I'm guessing. So he'll have to make that up to whoever is behind him. If he has his way, I'm hoping, I think he would like it to be Jack Wadge and Linga and take that 2nd spot. And even Bruce, if you can get these guys cleared and start to make headways into the 5-second gap that Bruce has built up now in 4 laps, and that is continuing to grow. The more these guys fight, the bigger that gap is going to get, and Bruce is a very smart driver. He's going to be pushing as hard as he can, trying to grow that gap, giving himself as much breathing space as possible whilst he can go faster, not wearing out the tyres quite as hard as these guys here. Take the race to the end. Let's just jump back a little bit towards 10th place. So it looks like Blankfile has also picked himself up a little time-second penalty to go, but he has cleared TGS and Survivor now, so I think that's going to be him in a little bit of clean air until he catches up with Chris. You can see the gap there just a little bit, only a couple of seconds. Blankfile has picked up the pace and has got that Bentley swinging. That shouldn't take him too long to catch up, although Chris is just out of reach of Maze still, so Maze is really making headway through the pack. I believe he started just outside the top 10 as memory serves, so he did a great job in the AMG. He was jumped in the last minute. The reserves got the call sort of 5 minutes before the race, so potentially hasn't done quite as much practice as some of these other guys who have been practicing all week, tinkering, having the spanners out. So a real good showing from him. Love to see it. Just jumping back a little bit further to 14th, CDN is starting to close on the back of Flush, and Immortalis, more importantly, is starting to get on the back of Survivor, so looking to have another crack at getting that done. As we see Survivor, they're a very adjusted front end, and his Z4, that will not be doing him any favours, especially into this section where it's a little left-handed, you can cut straight, and then there's a big sweeping right into a very sharp right-hander at the end. It's so awkward and is perfect for cooking those tyres up, which is not doing in Dubai. As I say that, Blankfile has caught up with the back of Chris already. I told you it wouldn't take long. It looks like he's got his head screwed back on, he is focused and is charging up through the pack. So I think he's a little bit too far back to make the move just yet. So maybe another lap and a half before we start to see that get done. As we can see, as I eat my words, Chris making a mistake on both exits of those corners. You can see how quickly that gap can close down. It's super competitive. Any mistake you make is amplified by the drivers around you. The Lamborghini should have the legs on the run down to this, so I don't think Blankfile's going to get it done here unless he gets on the brakes super late, which we know Bentley can do. It does look like a bit of a bus, but so much downforce and so much grip produced by it that it sort of weighs itself out. As we see, a great move from Blankfile there, getting up the inside under braking. Like I said, he could have proven me wrong again. He has got about a second gap up to what sorts itself out about it between a 2-second gap up to Mays in an orange AMC. That's next up for him. You can see the gap there, and we'll come back and keep an eye on that shortly. Jumping back up to the front, Linger having another go at Jack, and it looks like Linger has got the position away from Wadge, who has dropped back a little bit with Snarling, so they're now 3 seconds back, so maybe a little pushing and shoving, getting a little bit too heavy between them guys, but Jack still getting no rest by Linger for company this time in that red McLaren. He looks like he is doing everything he can to get Jack off of the racing line as best he can, trying to look for that. And as we jump in with Linger Bazinga, this is what he can see, and it looks like it's just all Ferrari at the minute. Giving him a little look, just letting him know he's there, but a little too far back to get anything done just yet. Using all the track as best as he can, clipping the apex, a little bit oversteering the exit, compromising it a little bit. You see Jack makes up just a little bit of time there, and that's probably still got a little way to go just yet before that starts to develop into anything of note. As we jump back to Tibby just here, he's starting to hassle Snarling, who's a little bit further back than the timing board makes it look. Wadge also not that far away, only a second between each car, so a little bit of breathing space for these guys, but not as much as they would like. Not quite sure what's happened between those guys. We must have missed it on the stream, but they've definitely dropped back from Jack and Linger, so maybe fighting a little too hard, running a little bit too wide, maybe a little bit of contact. We will find out, I'm sure, from the students inquiry. Timmy getting right on the back of Starling and break into the final corner there. Can he keep the momentum going for a run down into turn one? We will wait and see, trying to get as much draft as he can off the back of that McLaren. Absolutely hossing into turn one. Snarling taking the inside line away as best he can. Oh, it looks like he's actually Snarling falling foul to another time penalty there, giving the position up. Not fighting too hard for Tibby, so Tibby gifted a place there, which doesn't come often, especially in this grid, so he'll be happy with that. So Wadge is next in his sights, a 2-second gap to close down to get it. Back up to Linger and Jack, who are not leaving each other alone. Still, Linger still trying to pull Jack off of his line, and Jack makes a little mistake there, clipping the curb. Linger just having to get on the brakes and make some adjustment, and costing him some time. I don't think the stewards will be needed for that one. A little bit of racing incident, and it looks like McLaren just cannot close the gap down enough on that back straight. The Ferrari obviously with the legs, but coming into the tight, twisty complexes, the McLaren is making up a little bit of time. As you see Linger get really wide there, not ideal. You almost want to cut that corner just a little bit shorter so you can get a better run on the following exit. Jumping to the back of the grid, we've got Survivor, and we've seen him adjust that front panel of Z4. He's closing in on the back of Dr. Hofford, who doesn't look to have damage, but he's definitely lacking pace a little bit as far as I can see. As we see CDN and what appears to be Flush also having issues, so these four guys getting bunched up now. It's going to take a few corners, I reckon, for them to work who's going to go where in that one. It looks like CDN, it is CDN, he's dropping back, as well as the Doctor, so Flush coming out as the winner on that one then, looking to get away from that pack and start chasing down Immortalis. Immortalis right on the back of Blankfile, not able to catch up to Chris just yet, probably because he's defending from Immortalis on the Ferrari. We'll see, is going to be another move into turn one. Turn one is going to be a continual theme for overtaking on this track. You've got the run into turn one, and it's such a long sweeping corner with a good exit on the outside that you can really get it up the inside and hang on. You can make up some positions there, but it looks like Blankfile defends it nicely. Mortalis just losing a little bit of speed to the high downforce Bentley through this tight, windy section. So eMotorsports going the other way to, having the same sort of issue as Jack, really. Got the legs on the straights, but can't quite keep up in the tight, twisty stuff. I will be happy with that, although Mortalis has got a good chance of getting it done if he gets a good exit out of this corner on this back straight here. Blankfile will be aware of that, and I'm expecting to take the inside away as best as possible and force Immortalis the long way round. We'll just stick with these for a little longer, then we're going to jump back up to the front and see how they're getting on. Immortalis too far back to get anything done just yet. So it looks like Linga has had an incident and fallen away from Jack. So Jack being gifted some breathing space. As we can see, the front end of Linga's McLaren has had some contact. It looks like he's going to lose the space to Tibby under braking as well. So that, as I said in qualifying, Linga has always had great pace for the racing gods, never favouring him. Lady Luck never really on his side. So we'll have to wait till after the race to hear from him as we see him dive into the pit. So that's going to cost him massively as we near the halfway point for this race. He's probably going to be the first and only pit stop for this race, and I suspect it will just be for damage as well. Just double check with Jack, see if his Ferrari is pristine, and it looks like it is, so maybe a little spin for by himself. We will have to wait and see. Jumping back a little bit, so Chris in that white and pink Lambo in 7th, Blankfile and TGS right behind him for company. Blankfile making up one space by the looks of it on TGS. Got the move done, but TGS is not letting him away with it just yet. Still fighting back. He's trying to get up the inside here. It's a very dangerous place to be. The apex sort of snaps towards you. Chris, it's a bit deceptive here. Looks like Blankfile is a little further back from Chris than it makes out. That Lamborghini should be able to hold the Bentley off down the main straight. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's just jump into the cockpit of Blankfile and see what he can see. And it is all Lamborghini. Chris making it as wide as possible. One defensive move. Blankfile much late onto the brakes, as we can see. Chris locking up, taking it too wide. Looks like Blankfile gets a little tap from TGS on the way through. Blankfile with a better exit out there. Look, still can't get it done though. Chris hanging on to 7th place by every fight for a tooth nail. Just jump back track starting to get a better view of this as we come into the final complex. So TGS looks like he's setting up a little move there. Was going really wide on the track. I wonder if he's going to try and get underneath Chris there. He is cutting it tight, going to try and get a better run round here. As you can see, he closes up the gap, so Blankfile gets the move done. He's now in front of Chris. Chris is sitting in the middle, and we can see TGS getting up the inside on the final corner. Can he make that stick as Chris gets back underneath? TGS could be unlucky here and fall foul to that massive Lamborghini engine. And also, we'll be getting the draft for Blankfile, but won't be able to pull out as Chris has got him pinned in as they swap coming into turn 1. TGS backs out a little bit. Great driving from these guys, keeping it all clean and above board. Jumping up a little bit ahead of these guys. Maze is in the middle of all this in a bit of clean air, but Snarling and Tibby are reuniting their fond friendship on track. Snarling trying to get underneath the inside there for that back straight. Here trying to maximise the exit of that McLaren. Looks like he's lost a little bit of space, so that R8 for Tibby getting it done for the time being there, a little further back. Looks like he's not going to be able to get anything done just here. Dr. Popford is getting onto the back of Flush. Not a great race for Dr. Popford, not what we've come to expect. He has changed car this season. Last season was in the yellow Ferrari, as memory serves, of this year opting for the Acura NSX. Much stabler in the corners, but can sometimes lack a little bit in top end depending on your setup. And it is just not seem to be coming together for him. It could just be that it is the first race of the season, still a lot of bedding in to be done, more tinkering to happen at a particularly harsh track. As you see him had a little wobble there, the car not quite as happy as he'd probably like it to be. We'll leave these guys just for a second and jump back up here as he's Snarling and Tibby come roaring down the start-finish straight. Tibby opted to go straight for the inside, cut out that inside line, and force Snarling the long way round as he seemed to take the middle of the track a little bit, all within rules. Of course, one defensive move allowed and return to the racing line. Snarling not able to close up quite so much into this fast section. This is going to be a real difficult place to overtake. You can see him. He's going to try to set this up now. He's going to try and get up underneath here, but this corner just snaps really tightly towards the end. And if you get it wrong, you can cause an accident under braking. You end up losing so much speed doing that, though, that you never get the run that you'd like into this long sweeping left-hander. As we can see here, Timmy takes the place back. Snarling with a great run onto the back straight there, side by side as they come down into the tight hairpin. Tibby's on the inside, so Snarling's going to be going the long way round if he's going to be doing it. Last of the late breakers, who is it? Looks like it's Tibby. Can he make it stick? He runs a little bit wide. Snarling getting back onto the outside, should get a better run on the exit of this corner, ready for another tight right-hander. So Snarling still on the inside, Tibby on the outside now. These guys swapping and changing. As you can see, Snarling force himself through Tibby. Probably not going to be able to get back underneath on the exit there, so it's going to be a run down to this awkward back section like I've spoken before. Can Tibby get it done under braking onto the inside? It's going to be his only move. He's going to try, and he backs out at the very last minute. Always better to avoid the contact. No one wants to be damaging their cars. That's never the quickest way. So those guys, I think, are going to be staying like that for another couple of laps. I reckon their tyres are on fire after that sort of back and forth battling they've been doing. TGS getting a little bit squirrely there. He's under pressure from Chris in that white and pink Lamborghini. Chris opted to take the inside, look nice and early, nice and aggressive. That should be no problem for the Lamborghini, although TGS is fighting back, and there we go. TGS getting it done. Chris, getting that done at Lamborghini, and he should be able to hold on to the onto the turn one, unless TGS is going to be super brave on braking, and he isn't, so he stays put. Great move from Chris there, nice and clean. Jumping back a little bit, just behind these guys, Survivor and CDN are dropping the gloves, and they're going to have another go at it. So we've seen Survivor. We're not sure how he managed to damage the front end of his car, but he's managed it all the same, and he hasn't dropped too far back, hasn't opted to repair either, so the damage looks a lot worse than what it is. We did see a little spin from CDN earlier on in the race. I believe it's with Dr. Potful for company, so potentially a few flat spots on his tyres, maybe a little bit of damage. Excuse me, if there was contact, so that would explain why he's a little bit back there. But Survivor, looks like the damage is just holding him back from being able to get right on the back of CDN and get the move done. So for the minute, I expect that that's going to stay the way it is. Vinga Bazinga is, after his pit stop for damage repair, we're not sure how he ended up with it, but he's had a little dink on the front there as well. He opted to get his damage repaired, and hasn't able to catch up to the back of Quick Gaming just yet, who will be his first victim when he gets there. So much action in this race. I feel like it's been non-stop back and forth. 13 laps in, 20 minutes done, so we are over the halfway point now, guys. We're coming into the final stages. The tyres will be red hot, and tyre wear will be starting to become a bit of a concern. So for those of you new to watching the Flux Motorsport races, we have simulated real-world weather, so this is as close as we can get it to real life. So today, the weather forecast was clear and sunny. fuel depletion is on. They are going to have to put the right amount of petrol in, otherwise they won't be making it, or they will be pitting. And accelerated tyre wear is on as well. So the tyres are going to wear a little bit quicker than they normally would in the public lobby, trying to simulate a bit of a longer race in the 45-minute window that we have. So tyre management is a big part of these races, and that is the same across the board. So in all of the races, the tyre wear does play a factor more than it does in other places, and it really gives to show the skill of these guys being able to hang on sometimes, or most of the time, without pits. So one set of hards run right down to the rim. By the end of it, they are practically driving on ice in some instances. So Tibby looks like he's dropping back a little bit from the rear of Snarling there. Again, maybe just getting the tyres a little bit too hot, pushing a little too hard, having to back off and let the car cool down, ready for another duel. In the meantime, let's jump up to the man who hasn't had enough screen time today, Mr. Bruce Law, and let's jump in the cockpit and do a lap with him. So coming up into turn 1, braking probably just after the 100-metre board, looking to the apex, get on the throttle as early as possible, trying to carry as much speed down this hill into this windy section, trying to get over and clip the right hand here. This should normally be all flat out as we hit this double apex. Opting to cut this straight into this wrong right-hander, and this is the corner I've been telling you about, where the apex sort of snaps towards you, sort of tightens up right towards the end. And you can see there Bruce hitting it perfectly into this long sweeping left-hander. Again, another awkward late apex. You end up braking and turning much later than you think you would. Bruce just a little bit wider there, but opting to get the better run on the outside, using all of the track for this long run up to another right-hand hairpin. This is one of the few chances the car gets a chance to cool down and ease up, as it's hard on the brakes just at the 100-metre board, looking for the apex. Can't take it too tight as see the track just bobbles up and can unsettle the rear of the car. Get as far over for the best exit here as you can, using all the track, careful not to get too much on the curve. Braking again just at the 100 board, looking to get the apex and get good exit. This is the run down to that final tricky section. No corner names on this track yet, it is still too young, so it makes my job just that little bit harder. This corner is a bit of a null point, just drive straight through, get as far over as you can, brake and turn in way later than you'd like, as Bruce just washes out just a little bit there, gets it back and clips it nicely, staying as wide as he can for the best run through here as he could, trying to keep as much momentum in the car for these final corners you can. Again, just before the 100 board, braking, let the car roll, loads of patience needed for this, and then plenty of throttle, completing one lap of bye. And as we can see from the timing boards, it's showing Bruce setting a 1:58.9 at the minute last time out. Everyone else in the sort of 1:59s and 2 minutes. So really, drive of the day has started at the front and has led from the front, which is as far as race strategy goes, that is the way to do it. Looks like the rest of the grid have settled down a little bit now, so only coming up to 15 minutes left in this session, the final quarter. Everyone's sort of starting to fall in line a little bit now, sort of letting the cars cool down, they'll heat up, tyre wear was starting to become a problem, and the drivers themselves were starting to get tired. They've been concentrating hard on this track. It is by far one of the hardest tracks on the calendar this season. Jumping back a little bit here, it looks like Chris is starting to get on the back of TGS for companies. We see Flush just dive in the pits there, so that's probably going to be for damage. Unlikely it will be for tyres or fuel. TGS is sitting, well, TGS and Chris rounding out the top 10, and they've been jostling back and forth for most of the race. I would have expected TGS to finish a little bit higher, but this grid is absolutely stacked, so it's still a monumental effort to finish where he is, if that's where he's going to be. Chris looks like he's unable to get reaching distance just yet, unless the camera is lying to me. I can't quite see TGS in there. grid there, he did get a better view there. Look, Chris not able to get on the back of him just yet, so still a little bit of breathing room. Looks like Immortalis and Blankfile are getting ready for another go at it, so Immortalis catching onto the back of Blank's big yellow Bentley. It's quite unusual to see Blank and Immortalis this far back. Normally they are fighting for the top spots, but Immortalis and Blankfile both getting caught up in a turn 1 incident. It looked like just going 4 into 1 doesn't reach, and people getting spin round and collected, so they're doing a bit of a recovery drive, probably a little bit of damage just for good measure. Immortalis did pit, I believe, so he's had pitted and has worked his way back up. Looks like he's going to try to get the legs into turn 1 again. This is where they had issue on lap 1. Immortalis thinking better of it and just staying in line for the time being, biding his time, nice and patient, which is not normally what we see from Immortalis. Normally super aggressive all the time, maximum attack, which is why he's normally good fun to watch. You see Blankfile get a little bit wide there. Immortalis will be looking to capitalise on that. Is he going to try and go up the inside into this sharp right-hander? He is. Blank's going to have to be very careful not turning in and snapping the nose off. Immortalis forcing himself through their elbows out. Is Blank still going to keep the run on the inside? If Immortalis can hang it on, he should have the better run on the exit, and he is. Great brave move from him, capitalising on the smallest of mistakes from Blankfile, which are very rare to see, so you've got to take them when you can. It looks like Blankfile isn't going to be able to get a move done just yet. This is late on the brakes. He has a little think about it, but he thinks better of it, so he's probably going to sit in line for a little bit longer. So just jump back a little bit in the grid here as I'm getting notifications of other people catching up. Looks like CDN and Survivor have swapped places, so Survivor getting it done in that slightly wonky Z4. I suspect CDN will probably get that back though if he's got no damage in that number, if he can just keep it together for a little bit longer. Otherwise it's a great effort from Survivor to keep that car sort of facing even the right direction. These cars are difficult to drive at the best of times. We move forward to TGS and Chris still not leaving each other alone. I think these guys have been dance partners from lap 1. TGS getting very squiggly on the exit there. That's not going to be doing his tyres any favour, and he's going to lose momentum all up this straight, so he's still going to have to wait a little while just yet. Jumping into 6th place, another chap we haven't spoken too much about has ended up in no man's land, really, in the middle of the pack. That's Maze Gamer in the orange AMG. As I've said previous, a very last minute jump in for from the reserve pool moments before the race. An absolute great showing from him. Finished, I believe he qualified just outside the top 10 as memory serves, so he's made up a good few places amongst all the carnage and battling that's been going on. Has ended up in clean air sort of behind him and in front of him, as commentates cursed as he washes out a little bit there, braking too hard. The car not quite as underneath him as it once was, and he's starting to feel it. He's going to have to be careful with Immortalis and Blankfile behind him, but he looks like he's got about a 9-second gap, 7-second gap even to Immortalis. So he's got a little bit of breathing room, but that breathing room will quickly go away if he makes many more mistakes. And he's only 4 seconds behind Tibby, who's, as you can see, Tibby getting very squiggly there, coming into the final section, so we're going to be careful of that. You can see Snarling just getting around the last corner, and there's Maze in the background, so Maze potentially on to nab 5th there if Tibby is caught napping, especially if that R8 is starting to get a little bit squiggly at the rear. Tibby could find himself foul of some tyre wear issues. Jumping up into 2nd place, another man we haven't spoke about too much. Been in the epic 4-way battle for a good part of the opening laps of the race with Wadge, Snarley and Linga and even Tibby for a little while, managing to fend all of them off from the get-go, not letting fight for absolutely every inch, making that Ferrari as wide as humanly possible. A great defensive drive from him. And that he's not been able to catch up to the back of Bruce. Bruce with absolutely lightning pace, as you can see the lap times here. 1:59 from Bruce and a 2 minutes 1 from Jack. So quite a significant difference per lap, only 9 seconds back. But with about sort of 3-4 seconds, depending on where they are on track, to Wadge in the M6, who's been unable to catch up, but hasn't necessarily dropped away and sort of maintained the distance, as it were. Maybe preserving the car for a last-minute dash at it as we come to the final stages of the race. Only 9.5 minutes left in this session, so 2 minutes, maybe 4-5 laps left, depending on where Bruce is on track at the minute. So we are definitely getting towards the end now. If people are going to make moves, it's going to be now is the time to start setting them up, really. Another thing to keep in note is I've lost my train of thought there, is that Jack, Snarling, Tibby, Blankfile, Chris, CDN, Dr. Potford and Linga, all with time second penalties to be served at the end of the race. So these finishing positions could potentially change just yet. We will have to wait and see it. It looks like someone has dropped out. I'm just trying to find out who it is. It looks like it is Maze Gamer, which is an awful shame. He was having a great run, and it is Maze. Maze was running up in 6th, and looks like he's been fallen foul of some connection issues, so he's going to be gutted for that one. It was a great first showing for him. Unfortunately, disconnections count as engine blow-up, so there will be no points from him for this race. So we'll have a lot of work to do for the rest of the season to catch back up. Immortalis, Blankfile and everyone below him being gifted a free position, which I'm sure they won't say no to. It does mean Immortalis has got some great clean air before Tibby, about a 10-second gap. So unless anything crazy happens, he's likely to stay put in the closing stages. It does look like Blankfile has dropped right off the back of him, though, almost a 5-6 second gap between the two. So that not playing out quite as well as Blankfile would have liked. Obviously opting to change from the Z4 to the Bentley this season, not getting off to the great start that he hoped. However, last season he didn't win the opening race and then went on to win every subsequent race afterwards. So maybe this is just the trend for Blank. Takes him one race to get his eye in, and then that is it. He is away. Jumping back to 10th, 11th, 12th, it looks like Survivor is starting to get on the back of Dr. Potford now. CDN still keeping them all honest, not quite in reaching distance just yet, but Survivor making the very best of these final stages and the potential wear and fatigue of these drivers, starting to pick off the final pack. He could be on for a top 10 finish here if he's aware and in the zone. Dr. Potford looks like he's dropping pace to that Z4 in a straight line and under braking, so something not going quite right for him. Stay with these guys onto the back straight. See how that plays out. Survivor getting a great run out of that final corner there. Having a little sniff up the inside, probably making his move a little bit too early there. Is it going to make too much of a difference up the back? It isn't, as you can see, he's right on the back of Dr. Potford's NSX there. Is he going to opt to push to the inside at the last minute? He is. Dr. Potford hanging on to the outside on the braking, it really squiggy braking really late. Dr. Potford just losing there, braking too hard on entry, getting the car unbalanced into the turn and falling foul of just weight sliding around on him. So Survivor and CDN both get through. CDN keeping Survivor honest but unable to get within touching distance. So maybe biding his time for the final few laps. We wait and see. 5 minutes left to go, so 2-3 laps, maybe, depending on where Bruce is. We wait and see. Vinga Bazinga has, after his falling foul of some damage, I believe it was on his own, but we'll wait to see from the stewards' inquiries if anything nasty comes of it. He's made it past Flush, who's also pitted for damage, and he's starting to get round green, so he's making the very best of a awful situation. We see Green just tapping the rear of the car there. That's if he's not careful, that's also going to end up in the stewards look at that one. You've got to be careful around into that tight section. It's a very difficult, fast section to overtake on, but drivers still have to give each other the room to race and respect out on track. Jumping forward, it still looks like CDN is unable to get on the back of Survivor, so him probably getting more and more frustrated seeing the rear of that Chrome Z4. I'm guessing thinking he'd like to see it in his rear view mirrors sooner rather than later. 4 minutes left in this session, so definitely coming to the final few laps now as we just jump forward to find out where Bruce is. So he is coming just towards the middle of the middle section, so we're probably going to see 2 more laps. So lap 20, 23, 24 is probably going to be where we're going to call it. So not a lot else doing in this grid at the minute. Everyone's settling in after some action non-stop near enough. From the green lights going out to 3 minutes out of from the checkered flag, I feel like I've been talking non-stop about the action here. Everyone battling out throughout the pack. Great racing from all of them. We love to watch it. Good way to kick off the GT3 season. Obviously the off-season rust not really getting to these drivers. They're staying sharp, doing the practicing. Racing in the other championships on the week, as I said. Coming up this week, we've got the touring cars with Murphy at 8 o'clock UK time. On Thursday, we have Lecky with the GT1s, also at 8 o'clock UK. On Friday, we have Carlin Hicks with the GTEs in the American time zone, 8 o'clock Eastern. Saturday, we have the double header. We have LMP2 with Giacomo at 8 o'clock UK, and then we have Pogo with the IndyCars at 8 o'clock Eastern afterwards. And then Sunday, another double header. So we have me at 8 o'clock with the GT3s, and then we have Muttley and One Shoe with the stock cars at 8 o'clock Eastern. So stick around for that one, as that's going to be a very different race. As we see someone go round there, that looks to be Flush by the looks of it. So Bruce just going around a back marker there. Flush having a few issues with grip. So the only real battle going on at the minute is CDN and Survivor battling for that final top 10 spot. Survivor has it and CDN wants it. Is he going to be able to get it done? 1 minute 50 left to go. We're going to double check Bruce where he is on the track. So there is going to be one more lap. Maybe. Yes, one more lap after this one. So time is starting to become a real problem for CDN, as we see him run wide there, really starting to push that Lamborghini as hard as he can, trying to get around that Chrome Z4, which in this sunlight I'm sure is absolutely blinding. It seems to me as Survivor is able just to carry a little bit of momentum onto the exit of these corners, which is giving him just enough breathing space to hang on through the tight stuff. And it's actually looking a little bit better on the under braking as well, but CDN looks like he has been conserving just a little bit here, just starting to see a bit more pace come out of him as he's really pushing to close that gap under braking. As you can see there, starting to have a little sniff around the inside, making Survivor aware that he's closing that gap down, starting to put the pressure on. It looks like he's still a little bit too far back for a move just yet. Maybe at the final corner he's waiting for, where the Lamborghini should have the legs on the Z4, although he hasn't been able to get it done just yet. So into the final tricky section Is CDN going to make a move under the brake and get it done now, or is he going to wait till the final lap just to make a little bit more drama for this absolutely action-packed race? Nothing yet, still looking a little too far back. Survivor hangs on for a little longer. CDN getting that Lamborghini far out as he can, trying to get the best exit onto the start-finish straight. Trying to get a run down into turn 1. Again, it looks like Survivor is able just to keep momentum in that Z4 for a little bit longer. As we see, CDN not able to close up quick enough for a move into turn 1 just yet, although it looks like he's going to go for it anyway. Thinks better of it, a wise choice, I believe. Just as we jump forward, it looks like Jack and Wadge have switched around on the last lap. Not sure what's happened there, but that does look like a back marker, potentially flush. Has Jack made a little mistake, or has he just got caught up in the back marker there? We don't know, but this is going to be it. So, Jack has an absolute flawless drive, has had issue on the absolute final lap, been ripped away from him. Wadge looked like he's going to secure it, provided he can just navigate his final 2 corners. I suspect we're going to hear about this one. What an upset. Nothing going to be done here. Bruce crosses the line for the win. An absolute monster of a drive from him. Took it from the start, put it on pole in qualifying, and drove away in the race. Wadge holds on to second place from Jack, who gets 3rd for his efforts. Snarling Bongo coming across the line in 4th. Tibby in 5th. Tibby not able to get that move done in the end. 6th comes from Immortalis, a good recovery drive from him after having a little bit of an incident earlier on. Blankfall comes out in 7th. He won't be happy with that one. A lot of tinkering, a lot of setup is probably going to happen to that Bentley. It'll probably look very different coming into next week. TGS in the M6 still a little bit back, just about to come across the start-finish line in that M6. A good drive from him able to fend off CDN and Chris for a good while, able to get away. CDN looks like he has managed to get around Survivor, as well as Chris as well. So Survivor having potential issues. Chris comes across the line in 10th, rounding out the top 10. Survivor, after a great race at the end, a great drive all day really. Looks like he's had a bit more damage to the Z4, so him falling foul on the final lap, unable to keep pressure held off for that much longer. Dr. Potford comes around in 12th. An unusual result from him. Normally we see him much sharper, but a good recovery drive, although maybe a bit more setup needed for that NSX to get him as comfortable as he would like. Linger showed great pace early on, battling up the front, but had to pit for damage repairs. Recovered himself to 13th place. He won't be happy with that one either, so that'll be looking to be rectified next week. Green Gaming comes across in 14th and rounded out the grid by Flush. So there we have it. Race 1 of the GT3 is complete. Bruce kicking off his campaign for that top spot in style, getting that Janetta on pole in qualifying. He'll get an extra point for that, and taking the win in the race, and it looks like he bagged himself the fastest lap point as well, so all points going to Bruce Law. A good showing from him. Wadge takes home in 2nd, just beating Jack de Mendes to the end, but with time penalties playing in, it probably could have gone that way anyway. Jack getting his Ferrari, both of these faces actually new to the GT3 season, but Jack getting himself onto the podium. He'll get a little taste of champagne too in his Ferrari. A good drive from him, great consistency. Just falling foul just a little bit at the end. Snarling gets himself into 4th place, unable to keep up, and just hang on to the back of the top 2, the back of Wadge and Jack. So we expect to see him get a little bit quicker last season, but still a great showing for him in that McLaren. Tibby takes home 5th. Immortalis recovers back to 6th place after his damage, with Blankfall for company for most of that race. TGS gets the M6 into 8th. CDN eventually gets around Survivor and takes home 9th. Chris rounding out the top 10. Survivor comes home in 11th place. Again, we saw him doing really well, hanging on to the 9th spot, but in the last lap seemed to have a little bit more damage, maybe a spin. could be a steward's inquiry for him, but he's gifted with 11th place for his efforts. Dr. Potford down in 12th place. We expect to see that change in the coming races. Linga Bazinga in 13th, again another recovery drive for Linga. Green Gaming in 14th, Flush in 15th, and Mays Gamer was another great showing who we lost to disconnections. So that has been round one of the GT3s. Thank you all for joining me. I've been your host, The Console. Next week we go to Zhuhai, another tricky track, super bumpy, super quick, and potentially super hot as well if the weather goes that way. Could also be super wet. We will wait and see. The whole GT3 season is going around the APAC continent, so we've got Dubai, Zhuhai, Japan, Australia and New Zealand to visit just yet, so a variety of weathers to be coming in. I've been your host, The Console. Thank you for joining me this evening. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on our channel. It helps us out massively, show the support, help us bring more great content to you. Don't forget to go join Murphy on Tuesday at 8 o'clock for the touring cars. Another great race due for him at Snetterton 200, so in the freezing cold and also super bumpy. Thank you all for joining us, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, and good night.